Yes, we can get started. No worries at all. Yeah, John, Adam, feel free, please. So let's start with John. If you have any particular questions or issues, the comments that you'd like to bring up to the team, please do so. The floor is yours.
I don't have any questions or comments. I haven't, as I said, been as active in the tunnel project as I would have liked for a fair few reasons. So I mainly joined today, seeing I had a chance with no family commitments, just to see status or I guess learn what was happening or observe what questions others were having.
So are you aware of where we stand in terms of the different set of concepts that we have covered so far?
I sort of follow the GitHub notifications and things like that, but yeah, I'm probably not as up to speed as I should be.
Okay, we can take this opportunity to bring you up to speed quickly.
Do you want to check Adam if he's got questions or things, topics he wants first? Because if he does, they can be a priority.
Okay.
Not really. I've been pretty slack this week. I've just been distracted as well. So yeah.
Okay.
The Australians have winter, so I can imagine you're skiing, right?
Not much snow where I live, but it is winter, which does mean I'm inside and on my computer a bit more. So
that sounds optimistic. Okay.
So then, Stefan, why don't you then just
So
quickly where we stand.
A quick update, especially for you, John, Adam. Adam, you should be up to speed, but we have now three separate Sprint 3 topics. So we have addressed them in parallel. So you have the excavation, you have the geological or geotechnics, and the systems. And for example, for the system is really
you can even start from earlier back if you'd like.
You mean the sprints and sprint 2 and sprint 1?
Yes.
So I've just seen, John, you have submitted something for sprint 1.2.
Yeah.
We might wish to
that was georeferencing. That was related to georeferencing. Yes.
Yeah, which is sorry, I still didn't resubmit with that suggestion. But
no worries. So I would encourage you, if you submit something, that you try and it's just a wish, of course, that you try and do everything up to sprint 2.3, because this is basically just, so sprint 1 is more or less the base structure of an IFC. Sprint 2 are base structures of, let's say, infrastructure IFC, like generally speaking, and then the sprint 3 is really the tunnel specifics. And so I think it's sprint 2.2. We have, for example, alignment geometry in there, how that should all link together, but also reference, and that the alignment should be aggregated in the project. I believe this has now also been decided by Implementers Forum that this is how it should be done, even in 4.3. So it's, let's say, we can consider this nothing new in 4.4, but still, the file should be.
Was the relationship between IFC alignment and several IFC sites, was that discussed as well?
I'm not sure. I haven't been present last Thursday at the Implementers Forum, so I can't comment. But perhaps we can ask today about that relationship. Yeah, I assume that would be obviously well referenced in spatial structure, but that's just an assumption. We need to ask. And from Sprint 2.3, it's about linear placement of stuff. So for example, what we've said is that we should have an IFC site that is placed along the alignment, or that is placed relative to a referent that is placed along the alignment. And this is, for example, what we're checking, that IFC sites object placement is relative to the placement of the positioning element it is positioned relative to. So in a similar fashion as how spatial structure works in the, let's say, vertical BIM, this is how the structure could work in the horizontal BIM. Then also, this is probably something you all already know how to do. So just basically here we're requesting just assign some sort of geometry so that we start seeing geometries in the files, properties and classifications, so that with this we are, let's say, prepared for sprint 3 stuff. And if we look at, for example, geotechnics, here, of course, you know, this is perhaps something that you have a cool example of. If I remember correctly, John, you had a borehole example also in 4.3 deployment. You know, you're still unsure as to which geometry to attach, so basically you can attach whatever. But you know, make it contained in isosite and so on and so forth. I assume these words mean something to you already, so should be fine. But then spatial zones, because geoscience observation and so on. Then book B is about the interpretation, about the model, how that gets connected, and then book C is really for something, how to use that geotechnical information. And again, so if you don't have these specific functionalities in your software, of course, we're totally aware these requirements are, you know, just an idea, and please put forward your own example or something. We're really happy to see something of sorts. Let's put it this way.
And maybe these concepts that you see here listed, this is of course a subset of the new concepts that we have introduced. We have altogether, I think, close to 260 new concepts properties, concepts/properties. And this subset we made purposely a selection of, because they appear to be quite typical, so to speak. And but this is not, of course, the entire set of concepts that cover the 3 disciplines. So it's a subset for each discipline. And so we believe that if you know how to implement these, you would know, of course, how to implement the others.
Yes. So this is geotechnics and excavation. Again, similar. Also let's say the new concepts that are introduced that we haven't been introduced in previous sprints are mostly spatial containment, then some material assigning, but then also, for example, since we're in excavation, of course, there's earthworks and excavation cuttings, also the guide curves, which we would be really interested if somebody implements that and testify how it works. And here again, you know, just an underground excavation that is contained in a tunnel. Here we're even ourselves yet not sure, does it need to be contained? So yes, if you have any opinion on that, we're very happy to hear your thoughts.
The excavation, sorry, you're asking if the excavation element should be contained, or the...
Yes. Since it's a voiding feature, and voiding features, for example, shall not be contained, right?
Yeah, I was actually surprised that didn't come up in a review in 4.3. That you know, semantically it does make sense that an earthworks cut is a voiding element. But I was given an earthworks fill is a standalone product. I was kind of a bit surprised that someone didn't perhaps suggest that earthworks cut should be a sibling to a fill rather than inherit from voiding. So I think there is a where rule or something, isn't there, that prevents a voiding feature from being contained, but obviously I guess you could rewrite that or adjust that so that an earthworks cut could be. Does that make sense or not?
Yes, it does make sense. That's something that we were discussing. So I can understand why an earthwork cut is a voiding feature, right? Because you cannot cut if you don't have anything there before, right?
Yeah.
But I also know that a lot of software for the instances of earthwork cut do not require something to be there before, because
exactly.
Usually you just assume you have the surface and then you cut, and the assumption is that the surface underneath the surface it's full, right?
Yeah.
that's the assumption. But let me find the works cut. Yeah. So it's an excavation. It's a feature element subtraction. That's how it is. It's not avoiding. It's a feature element subtraction.
Sorry,
yeah. I didn't know myself. And you think there's a wearable? I'm unsure if there is a wearable.
Well, because for example, I don't think you can have you can't assign then a material to a cut. I guess it inherits from the element that it cuts from. But
so it has no openings, and it shall not fill voids, right?
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, yeah.
That's on the subtraction. I mean, perhaps on the voiding feature there is such a wearable. I'm not sure.
Perhaps maybe because I'm going off the top of my head. And obviously, there's a lot of things in IFC, so maybe I'm.
Nope, this one doesn't.
Anyway,
yeah.
I guess the good thing is now with the improvement in the validation tools and things like that, if you get a sample file, these generally quickly flag these things that are impossible for us to keep in our mind, or all of them. So
yeah, correct. So for example, a feature element has spatial containment, so feature element should be, and it doesn't seem overruled. Perhaps the opening element then is overruled, but it shall not be contained. Interesting.
So I'm going off the top of my head on this, so maybe maybe I need to look it up again myself.
We can take this one with us, Michelle, to the tech team, and also because I have it in my head as well, that the opening elements and so probably the feature elements abstractions and stuff should not be contained, but I'm confused because here it is.
yeah.
And does it carry an information on its volume? Because it has a volume at the end.
Yeah. So it already inherits the concepts of having the body geometry from IFC elements. Okay. So it has a lot of stuff here. And it's not much here.
Lee Gregory here.
Hi, Lee.
Hey, Lee.
The case there, though, we still have to let people know about is that lots of people want to send cut elements and they don't have the element that it's voiding.
Yeah.
I know when we did this for that much earlier thing a couple of years ago, you could sort of put in a dummy element, but sounds like if it's inheriting stuff, that dummy element has to have everything as well. But so many cases, we just want the cut and fill. We don't, and people have to have an example. Well, what do you do in that case when you're not actually got the element that it's cutting?
That is exactly the concern that John has also raised. Yes,
yeah. Now we had an example in there where I pointed to something, a tin that wasn't there, because if it's going to get information from this thing and it's not part of the cut element itself, all that information's got to be put through as well.
Yeah, so I think that's right, Lee. So I think that's why this topic's on discussion, is because should the element also be able to be contained rather than just a voiding of a terrain or a earth, a piece of earth and thing.
Yeah, so a feature element itself already should not be contained, right? So this is a mistake on our side. This should be removed.
Well, except I guess it's up for discussion. Should it be permitted to be contained if you want to exchange cuts without the object that it's cutting?
Yeah.
Especially given like a tin is, the size of the tin could be huge, and if you're actually just trying to do planning or costing for earthworks, then if you can't reference an external IFC data set, then it is a logistical barrier to using this. I mean, otherwise, I guess you actually don't classify it correctly in IFC and you call it something, building element proxy or something, whatever else. And that would be the temptation if you're trying to go down this route then, and that's not certainly preferred either.
Yeah, good point. Very good point.
So
normally, in linear infrastructure, your surface tin probably has 200, 300 million triangles on it. So a lot of the time, you do not want to pass that through. The cut or the fill part itself could be very small.
Yep.
Yeah. In no occasion you would want to.
Sorry.
So
Yeah.
let's write like this. Given this, right? Given the, where was that? No, I lost it. Here. Given formal propositions, right? Not contained, yeah. Element is not contained in special structure.
If the implication is that the tin has to be transferred over, then it should not be. That's clear. It should not be contained.
This question whether it should be lifted or question, right? And I'm linking you guys. Gregory, is it like this? John?
Sorry, was that?
What's
Lee
Gregory? What's your
driving
GitHub?
in the car.
What's your GitHub nickname or username? Or Adam? Adam, I can definitely make you. I think it's like this, right? Or it should be enough. I'm linking Adam into the conversation.
Yes.
Yes, please. I'm in a car at the moment, so I can't find anything.
Yeah, no worries, Lee. Concentrate on the road. And like this. Okay. Thank you regarding this. We're going to discuss this on the next deck call, I would say, Michelle, right? Any other concerns or questions? So I believe I've left with the systems not yet being shown to John, and with the system we have just made an example of the fire protection, because we believe this is something that is quite important in a tunnel. And with the system, of course, that you connect the pipe segments with fittings, with suppression terminal, that all this, the groups, the grouping and the topology of everything is there, because of course you need to do ports to the distribution system, components to the distribution system, port connectivity, port nesting, stuff like this. So this, the systematic view of the fire protection and everything. But again, if your software does not support some design or fire protection in general, you can of course come forward with a different example. It's really just trying to showcase the other part of the IFC, of course, which is not just having the elements there, but connecting the elements among one another. For example, this table 599 is a nice table. Where are you? Here. But of course, you need to have a sink and a source or ports, right? If you're connecting ports, what's the sink, what's the source? Really looking forward to the examples of this. Right.
Maybe
other-
Stefan, sorry, maybe Stefan, you could briefly explain how the checker will work, whether a file is submitted with the concepts from this part or from the other discipline or from 2 out of 3 disciplines.
Yes, so the checker works as if I find a pipe segment in the file, then I'll check all of these requirements on the pipe segment. If there's not going to be a pipe segment in the file, it's fine as well. So the checker tries to be permissive if there is no content to be checked. So the file is not failing if there is no content, so to say. But please don't submit empty files. Please do put something in there. But yeah, this is how it's going to work. Or for the excavation, of course, if a covering with a membrane will be found in the file, then I'll check. The checker will check if it's contained correctly, if it has some geometry assigned, if it is locally placed. And again, this is something that you might be able to set, right? The materials on a membrane. Let's see. So I'm really curious how this will go, and we had a lot of fun already putting these requirements together, coming up with something, but also now looking into the direction of software vendors if you're capable. So yeah, perhaps again on the voiding, right? We have a requirement that excavation shall void the geoscience model.
Yeah.
Right.
And maybe just planning wise, we intend to carry on discussing those concepts with you all software developers, down to up until at the end of September or mid-September. So we hope that this leaves enough time to investigate on those concepts and get a set of example files that would cover at least those the selection that we made here, but of course that can be implemented in other concepts from the disciplines. But yeah, so we have a little bit of time. And one of the ideas, I don't know whether I mentioned that the other day to you, Lee, but we would like to give software vendors the opportunity at the occasion of the excuse me, at the occasion of the Building Smart Technical Summit in Norway, to present examples of the implementation of those 4.4 concepts. So there will be a session dedicated to this, and just raise your hands if you're interested in participating and show to the audience what you've been implementing so far. I'll be circulating an email on that.
We'll probably look at putting in a video if we've got some stuff.
Absolutely.
Of course, critique is welcome as well. Not to just expect positive, but of course you all had just positive experiences, right?
Would I ever say anything negative?
Of course. We're gonna let Adam talk.
Wise move.
Yeah, I believe this is a very good opportunity, Michelle. Yeah, to also allow those that have done the heavy lifting, which is the implementing, the implementation, to have a stage in Norway.
Yes, absolutely. next to the reporting that we will be doing, but that's important. People present by themselves as well. Yes. Okay. Any other further questions or comments on your part? Lee, to start with you. Yeah, you're breaking up.
Sorry, Lee, we could not catch that, but I assume you've said you're good.
Yes, I'm good.
Okay,
Perfect.
good. Okay, Adam, are you as well?
Yep, I'm also good.
Good. John?
Yeah, I think that helps give me more insights. I should have a quick look at the pull request, because I think some of the other software vendors were using the Geometry Gym toolkit to create files. I haven't had any reported bugs or problems if they're still active trying to achieve some of these sprint models. So hopefully that's a good sign. But yeah, I'll definitely have a look at some of these sprints and try and catch up on some of them. Like, some of these topics are not necessarily easily authored in some of the software I'm working with, but yeah, certainly the toolkit itself should be able to support these concepts. So hopefully that's at least working.
I'm sure there is an expectation for this, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dan. Wishing you a good end of evening, and good night, and looking forward to speaking to you again next week.
Thanks a lot.
You do take care. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.